Palismen are one of the most interesting but underutilized parts of the Owl House, so today we're going to break down everything we know about Palismen as a whole, what their stories and abilities are, and what Luz's Palisman may be, as well as, spoiler alerts, Flapjack's tragic death. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss more Owl House videos and perhaps more live streams with the cast of the show. Oh, and if you really want to talk more about the Owl House, join us in the Cartoon Universe Discord. Link is in the pinned comment down below. Just make sure you ask for the Disney role when you get there so you can get access to the Owl House and other great channels. Palismen are magical companions to witches who double as magic staffs for the witches. A witch creates magic naturally from a special bile pouch in their heart that seems to produce something similar to Titan's blood. Titan's blood is a powerful source of magic, and even in the human realm, just getting closer to a small vial of it can make glyph magic work. Witch's bile is a natural source of magic for the witches who produce it, and they can continue to produce it in the human realm for months, as we have seen in the recent episode. It cannot be easily tapped into by other witches the way that Titan's blood can, and a witch can run out from using too much magic too fast, and will need to wait until their heart has produced more magic bile to continue casting spells. Staffs act as a secondary source of magic, with the Palismen's insides being just raw magic energy that they produce. Like a witch, they can run out too, but even in epic battles, it seems to be pretty rare for a witch and her Palismen to run out of magic. Palismen look like different species, oddly more like species from Earth than the demon realm, but with fantasy embellishments that give them a Pokemon or Digimon companion feeling. They are all carved from Palistrum wood, with one Palistrum tree being able to provide enough wood for multiple Palismen. Because of this, only one tree would have to be planted for every few witches in order to prevent the over-harvesting of them in the wild of the Boiling Isles. It quickly became a tradition to carve your own Palismen in school or even with your family as part of a tradition. Ida's own father Del is well known for being one of the best Palismen carvers there are, helping people all over the Boiling Isles in addition to his own family, who all had bird-themed Palismen, as was the Clawthorn family tradition. Despite one tree being capable of providing Palismen for multiple witches, they can be difficult to grow and very few actually exist anymore. When Belus received his curse, he found that eating Palismen kept it at bay or under his control, and over the centuries, who knows how many Palismen he had to consume to maintain his existence. He was likely responsible for a large amount of the Palistrum over-harvesting, and perhaps was eating Palistrum wood directly from the trees instead of Palismen themselves for a while. However, no matter how responsible Belos is for the over-harvesting of Palistrum, the witches themselves have to have some of the blame. Palismen have been abandoned to such a large degree that instead of one tree providing Palismen for multiple witches, one witch could be consuming a whole tree, or even more if they weren't taking good care of their Palismen and had the money. Particularly for more wild times in the history of the Boiling Isles, this was probably a lot more common than you'd think, when witches were constantly on adventures, exploring new frontiers, and even just living more hardy lives as a whole. And who knows how much conflict was going on between the different groups, where a staff would be a great weapon to have, but often get damaged. Palismen may have been seen less like a lifelong companion and more like a car, something that could last a long time with great care and maintenance, but could easily get busted up and destroyed, something you'd have at least a few of in your lifetime if you were that kind of person. At a time where Palistrum seemed overabundant, no one would think that they could ever harvest too much, and there'd be none left. The fact that the abandoned Palismen in the series are still fully functional shows that many people discarded them simply because they had physical defects. With how powerful they are, I doubt they were discarded by people who didn't have an alternative, either a new Palisman or a used one with fewer scratches. Palismen like Flapjack have proven, however, that Palismen can be passed down for generations if well taken care of, and there's no reason that every witch would need one carved specifically for them for an entire lifetime, let alone multiple times in each witch's lives, when you could just be passing them down from generation to generation. Despite this, the Palistrum was over-harvested due to the general desire of humans, or in this case witches, mixed in with their various family traditions. Abandoned Palistrum would go on to find a home with the Bat Queen, who may have been taking care of them for hundreds of years or even longer than that, predating Flapjack in the Deadwardian era even. The Bat Queen revealed that she herself is a Palisman, though the nature of her is very different from the other Palismen. She is of course a lot bigger, begging the question of how she was carved and who wielded her. Theoretically, she could be carved from an extra large tree, one bigger than any other, with the Bat Queen carved from its entirety instead of just a small chunk of it. Being made from a full tree may also give her special abilities the others don't have, such as her speech and ability to create something of offspring. Throughout the history of the Boiling Isles, all sorts of big beasts have existed, and even the Isles itself are just a giant decomposing titan. While the Bat Queen is too small to be the Titan's Palisman at this stage in his development, they can start off as small as King. A Titan's offspring is seemingly meant to be worshipped by the life that rises out of the decomposing Titan, so for quite some time they were likely meant to take on a form that is small enough to live on the decomposing parent, but probably bigger than King is in his current more infant state. I believe the Bat Queen was the Palisman of a Titan, perhaps even the Boiling Isles Titan, when he was at a smaller stage of development. He had perhaps intended to pass the Bat Queen on to his own son, but because he was attacked by the Collector, the Titan would die before making those proper arrangements, and the Bat Queen would find herself seemingly abandoned on the dead corpse of her owner, perhaps thinking that the Titan did not think she was good enough to be passed down to his own son. Luce received a chunk of Palistrum wood that Ida stole from a gardening club and carved out an egg so the Palisman could come out in whatever form it wants. Fans have been theorizing about what kind of Palisman Luce might have since she first asked for one back in episode 2 of season 1. To most fans, the best theory for a while now has been that it will be a snake. Even the title for the Owl House appears to depict an upside down staff, with the L being the staff and the S being a snake. I thought this was possible, but it seemed to be confirmed in the Season 3 premiere, with Luce having even more interactions with snakes. Back in episode 1, she had brought a snake into school for her presentation, getting her in trouble, and here again we see that referenced as well as a new scene of Luce playing with shedded snakeskin as a child. After the Bat Queen, the most interesting Palisman is of course Flapjack, whose history dates back to the Deadwardian era. As we saw in the premiere during the Haunted Hayride, Flapjack was originally the Palisman of a witch named Evelyn, who would come over to Gravesfield using one of the portals. There she would do witch things and get the attention of two witch hunters, Caleb and Philip. As we all now know, Evelyn and Caleb would fall in love, with Evelyn ending up pregnant by Caleb, and Philip killing Caleb for this in the Demon Realm. It is uncertain what happened to Flapjack at this point. It is strongly believed that Evelyn was a distant ancestor in the Clawthorn line, explaining why Dell has a similar Palisman to Evelyn, his being a yellow cardinal instead of a red one. He may have carved this to match Flapjack, or he may have learned to carve cardinals in this way because of a tradition dating back to Evelyn first losing Flapjack and carving out similar Palismen after he went missing. Regardless of when Flapjack went missing, they of course ended up in the care of the Bat Queen, like other Palismen that she found. Thanks to Luce and Ida, the Palismen were encouraged to find new homes with the teenage witches who could no longer carve their own Palismen because of Palistrum being over-harvested, with each witch getting a Palisman who reacts to their emotional wishes. Flapjack of course ended up choosing Hunter during the kidnapping of the Palismen for Emperor Bellos, after which he would hide Flapjack from Bellos to keep them safe. Flapjack of course chose Hunter because he is a Grimwalker clone of Caleb, making the fact that Hunter was forced to crush Flapjack all the more tragic, as was Flapjack giving up their life to bring Hunter back. Some fans believe that Luce left her egg behind when everyone went through the graveyard portal. It's possible that Luce happened to bring the egg with her, something that might be explained in the next episode. However, I think it is possible she merely did just leave it at home. The series has been building up to her getting her own staff from the very beginning, and while they might find a way to make sure she gets it for the final battle in order to show that she has truly become the witch of her dreams, I could see her not getting that until after the final battle, having to earn it first. One very possible ending to the series is Luce coming home to the human realm, knowing it is where she really belongs, but feeling sad about all of the friends and magic she left behind. Then her supposed egg could uncoil itself, revealing it to have just been a snake the whole time. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and while you're down there, let me know what kind of Palisman you guys would have. See you guys next time.